Hey guys, we're back on another video. Today we'll be doing what if Deku was Kakashi and Obito. Yeah, I got a new stuff now. Let me just check if this is recording. Alright, cool. Get back. So yeah, some people like ask me, like, why did I put out so much for this? Blah blah blah. Bro, today's my birthday, and the fact that I'm making a video on my birthday is weird. Actually, I wasn't planning to do anything because I was like, I saved up all this long, said, put in so much videos. I shouldn't have to do anything. But then I was like, I gotta tell you. You asked me, so I have to tell you now. But basically, what I was doing, right? I was like saving up so I don't have to do shit for a week. And this is a week and a day now because like I made a video. Okay, this is a week and a day. So now I don't gotta make videos for a week and a day. You watch these, they come out goody. Yeah, perfect, and that'll be it, right? But I guess that's not the case right now because apparently I have to upload like 40 times for you to get it crossed. But okay. So guys, if you're sensible to abuse to children, and guys, if you love Mama Midori as much as I do, I'm sorry. Like this is not the video. Like you should go and head for the hills. Like I love Mama Midoriya, bro, but she's not. She's not gonna be the nicest person in this. In this, what if? Like, bro, Deku's about to get that Kakashi treatment, bro. He gonna lose a friend, bro. I know it doesn't really matter if I say this or not, but this friend is not gonna be any important to the main plot. Probably until the end, like to the end of the series, or like to the end of the manga, or like therefore, it's not gonna be relevant. Like it's not even gonna make sense after if I like just wait to tell you. It's just not gonna be relevant. So what's the point? So let's get into this video. So we start off this video with Deku in the corner, hugging his legs, having his head down, just with cuts and bruises all over his body. With a plaster on his cheek, something covering his now black and purple eye, and his head wrapped. Cuts all over his arms and everything. His eyes are dull and he's looking at something. He's looking at Inko and Hazashi treating his older brother like a god. Now, let's sidetrack. Deku was born from Inko. Notice I put Inko, not Hazashi and Inko. So you guess what happened. Inko had another man. That man impregnated her. Man dipped. And she's stuck with Deku. Or Izuku, whatever you want to call him. And he had a white hair, like snow white hair. And blue eyes. Well, one was blue, the other one was green. He grew up, but as he grew up, he realized something. He didn't matter to his mother or father, because he doesn't know that Hizashi is not his real father. He doesn't know that yet. And here comes the day that his brother was born. His brother was not born like too far away from him. It was like a few months or two from Deku. So yeah, Deku has a brother. For all good sake, I'm gonna call him Shisui. Yeah, Shisui. I'm gonna call him Shisui. Right? Shisui Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya. Shisui. I'm still convinced Obito and Shisui are related. So no, the abuse got even worse. And it became more and more apparent to him that his mother nor father really cared for him. Inko, every time she pelt something at him, and there was this one time she pelt this, basically the blade machine right in his eye, and that hurt like hell. And Deku had only one saving grace in his life, and that was his best friend Yamato. Him and Yamato, although Yamato didn't have parents, so they were parallels to each other. Deku wished he never had parents, but damn, I forgot his name already. Oh yeah, Yamato wished he had parents. You see, Yamato's parents died a long time ago, and he was left all alone. Not even a grandmother, he was left all alone in his apartment. So Deku started to play. It was his only saving grace. Then him and Shisui went to school. Shisui was popular, but Deku wasn't. He was cute, don't get me wrong, no homo, and the girls thought he was hot, but they saw how he was and how his brother treated him, and realized like man's a loser, like man cannot stand up for himself. So girls think he's cute and adorable, but he's to them way too, like, he doesn't have any like belief in himself, so he's not assertive, so like they don't like that. So Deku just like, yeah. But it came this girl, her name was Uraraka. Dear God. Her name was Uraraka Ochako. She was always nice to him, but what he didn't know couldn't hurt him, or could it? He started to become friends with her. When Deku was a kid, he built up walls so no one could hurt him, but she slowly broke those walls. But little did he know, that was her intention. And when they won the swing together, because it was recess, she yelled out, Deku, I hate you, and I always will. I hate you since the day I met you. I only got close to you to get close to your brother. I'm sorry, but not sorry at the same time. And Deku heard these words, and it looked like he had no reaction. But that was wrong. In his heart, a piece of his heart broke. Then another piece broke. But then that's not it. You could see a string just being pulled, and it's slowly getting broken. But Deku had this idea in his head. He didn't trust Ochako 100%. Sure, he did like her company, but he wasn't that dumb. Ochako never talked to him before one day. And that day in particular was when Deku said his last name and Shisui's last name. And dear God, he knew this from the start, but he didn't want to believe it, because Ochako was a good person, in his eyes anyways. Well, to everybody, Ochako is a good person, but to him, he knows her true colors. But he acted like he didn't care. And it made it seem like he knew about it. But if there was one thing, they knew that Deku wasn't dumb. He wasn't stupid. He knew what was going on before you did. But, yeah. So Deku went back to his normal self, being calm and basically emotionless. And he went back to ah, Yamato, and Yamato and him go to different schools. So yeah, Yamato and him still keep hanging out. Over time, Deku's gained this ability to see people's real intentions. It's something that he created himself, so he wouldn't find himself in the same situation he did with Raka. He did notice it before, but he wasn't quick enough, so it wouldn't hurt him. So Yamato started to they Yamato and him just hang out, and this is where tragedy struck. The building began to shake and rumble, and the roof started to come down, hitting floor by floor, and him and Obito were running down the stairs, but they weren't fast enough. A rock landed right in front of them, and another rock was about to pass them. You see, Yamato had a wind quirk, so he saw it coming, and he knew how how Deku's life was, and he knew this, and he they had a conversation before this. Deku told him that he didn't really want to live, and he was the only attachment he had to this world, because they were niggas. They were close. So he looked at Izuku, and Izuku looked at him. It's like time slowed down. Everything went black and gray, and it felt like that. The wind suddenly stopped. The heat you could feel was no more. It was just dead, calm silence. And this is where Yamato pushed Izuku out of the way, and the rock crushed his whole body. Not half of his body, his whole body. So that means he's dead. Hold on, guys. Sorry, hold on. Sorry, guys. I told you my birthday's today, so I actually have other shit over. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Anyways, Yamato pushed Deku out the way, and Deku flew out the window. And on the building, there was not air balloons, but landing places. The things that firemen use, they pump out the air, that thing. And Izuku landed on one of them, but his eyes were hollow. They were just lifeless at this point. He has one dot in his eye, and that's all. But just this one dot. Nothing else. And he looked at the fireman, and the fireman saw his eyes and put it down to something. He lost something really important to him. And Deku just got up, still bleeding. It's like he never even felt the pain, and paramedics rushed to him, but he was still walking. Until they got to him, they started to patch him up, and Deku left. He sneaked away from them and just left and went back to his house. Deku was heading to his room. He went down in the basement, and he slept in the basement, because that's where his room is. He's not treated like a human being in this house. He was never treated like a human being. He was treated like a waste of space, something just taking up the air. And he was also used like a slave, doing whatever his father, mother, or brother told him to do, although he was way older. Well, not way older than his brother, but he was older than his brother, Shisui. And this is where Shisui came down, and he started to mock him and saying how ugly you look, how pathetic you are, and guys, shh. Bro, I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry, again, relatives. Oh, sorry. So, yeah. So Deku just was there, and he didn't reply. And Manmo wasn't looking for one. If there was anything, his brother just took insults and didn't care. Well, he knew he did care, but he never showed it. And Deku just side glanced at him. And this is where Manmo actually stepped back a little bit. Deku just looked at him with his cold, soulless eyes. But he said nothing. It's like his breathing was halted. You couldn't see his body move an inch, showing that he was not breathing. And he rolled back over, still looking at the ceiling, the water dropping on his head from a broken pipe. And he just taking it all in and cursing his life. This is where Deku went to sleep after this. Now, Deku just woke up to something. He felt arms on his hand, and like something was straining him. He opened his eyes and saw two men holding each side of each of his hands, and the man right in front of him talking to his parents, and his parents signing a contract. And he could hear one thing, and his father saying that I gotta finally get rid of that nuisance. He's not even my child. His uncle's ex-boyfriend or whatever. I don't care. I wish he was never born. Inko looked at Hisashi and said, I wish he was dead. I wish he died inside of me. Huh. And Izuku heard all of these things. And he wasn't surprised. He wasn't surprised that man wasn't his father. It was clearly obvious sometimes. He had never had white hair, and no one in his family had white hair besides him. His eyes were two different colors, showing that one of them wasn't from his side of the family. So, it was from someone else. And I bet we all could guess who Deku's real father is. It's like plainly obvious with the white hair and all. So, yeah. And they called him ugly and a nuisance. And this is where Deku started to hate his face, because he blamed it of him looking like his real father, that he never really met actually. So he just looked down and didn't accept his fate. He knew, but he wasn't gonna come back anytime soon. So this is where they put a sack over his head and dragged him to the car, with them surprising knowing he was awake, but he not resisting any part of it. They finally look at this kid's eyes and it was dead. And they weren't surprised. To see how fast his parents shipped him off meant that this was not the first time, and showing that he was not surprised that they treated him like this. They probably treated him worse, but in the end, they didn't care. What they were gonna do with Deku, he shouldn't have any emotion in the first place. Now, Deku just reflects on his life and reflecting on how when he was a kid and when his best friend was still alive. He looked into this void of just darkness and just saw his hand put him out of it and start packing his bag, and they walked off into the darkness together until he disappeared in that darkness and he was all alone again. But he remembered the good times they had when when him and Yamato were in the forest and Deku was jumping off a tree, swinging just to save him, and caught him in midair and tell him be careful next time. And he said, "Yeah, I'm kind of a mess up, aren't I?" And Deku says, "Yeah, you kind of are a mess up all the time." And he kind of smiled at that, and Yamato just laughed and says, "Yeah, I know." Deku just looked at him and smiled again. Now, before I go on, because I know some people, right? They'd be like, "Oh, is Deku gay? Like, does he like Yamato?" Well, you're actually really surprised to hear the end of that. Well, normally I would never do something like this, but seeing on the content how he was with him, it's up to your decision. Like, if you think he's gay, then he is gay. But like, if you think he's not, well, he's not. It depends on how you look at it. By gay, I mean he only liked one boy, because like, then I'll kind of make him bisexual. But anyways, he's not really interested in boys like that. It was just him. So he doesn't. So it's like he just. You could think that he was a friend or he was something, but like the way I look at it, he was not something with him. They were just friends. But it's up to you to interpret that, because you could have different viewpoints on it. You could see it as like, well, he's totally gay, but like then you could see it like, well, he's not gay because of whatever reason. But no, there'll be no gay ships in this one, because I constantly hate that. But and I hate it because I don't like the concept of it. I hate it because of how much times I fucking see it. Like, bro, why do you have to flood my screen when I'm looking for Deku X Uraraka and I see this bullshit appear on my screen? Like, Deku just kissing Todoroki, and I cannot, not in sight, I can't see Deku X Uraraka. And even when I type up Toga, I see Deku X Toga X Uraraka. I'm trying to see my boo Toga. I'm on those Sandra shit, and y'all niggas cock blocking me, bro. Why? Like, why, bro? Come on, man. Fuck you, bro. But anyways, I get off my rant. So yeah, Izuku, you can interpret what he is. Like, if you think he's gay, he's gay. If you think he's bisexual, he's bisexual. If you think he's like straight as fuck, he's straight as fuck. Like, it's not even a debate at this point. Just do what you do, nigga. And Deku, the only reason these men like took him is because he was quirkless and he was a rare find. There's not much quirkless people in the world. He is about, there's like 1 in 10,000 billion people. 1% of the whole entire population is quirkless. Yes, so other people have quirks. So like a lot of, there's now 20%. There's only 1%, and that's him. So yeah, it's kind of bad, but honestly, does he care? Not really. He doesn't really. He doesn't really care actually. But hey, whatever. They put him in a cell and they start torturing him, but sometimes he wouldn't even react. He would show pain sometimes, but most of the time he wouldn't even react. Now, this was the time when they were going lunch hall, and Deku didn't go lunch hall before. Like, he was always inside. They were just straight up trying to make him bawl, but it wasn't happening. He would cry or whimper sometimes, but like, he would endorse the pain. It's kind of the only thing he ever felt, really, pain. And he just looked. They gave up at some point on trying to make him scream, so they were just satisfied with him feeling pain. So they took him to the mess hall and they just lined all the kids that they took up, and it was barely a lot. And these kids that were there looked malnourished. They were just out of it. They were all lined up and put into seats, and Deku just ate his food and just was about to leave until he saw three girls just nearly getting hit with a whip. The middle girl getting hit with the whip, and he just out of pure instinct, not even knowing why he did it, jumped in front of the middle one, and his eye got slashed. His eye started to bleed, and they say, "Damn it!" And Deku is just on the floor, but only a tear comes out his one workable eye now. And they take him to the paramedics, and they don't really care for his well-being, but they want him to survive for what they're gonna do to him. So they patch up his eye, but his eye is now white, but he has a scar going down, just like Kakashi's eye. And they put him back into his cell, and time's day comes for what they were gonna use Deku to do. They put Deku in this hall, and these old wrinkly ass niggas wearing like masks just watching Deku, and they're kind of laughing, shouting peasant, worthless, and they just saying all these words to him, but he's impassive, he doesn't care, and he just looks at them, and this big able-bodied pig ass nigga just comes out of the other side of the arena, and he has a meat cleaver in his hand. Yeah, and he just basically a butcher knife and a pig mask on, and saying, "Come here, kid. I'm gonna dissect you." And Deku didn't really care, and he was just gonna let him kill him. He wants death and embraces death at this point. And then he comes rushing at him, and this is where Deku realizes he sees something. You know what? He remembers something. And this guy just come in front of him and start punching him, beating him, kicking him in the face, making his bloody. And this man has brace knuckles, so Deku's bleeding. All on his face, you can see, is his eyes, and that's kind of it. And his white hair, that's all that are not red at this point. So Deku is just looking up and then realizes something. Yamato wanted him to live. This is where you finally remember the conversation they had before he died. Yamato told him to live on, which was his final words. The conversation, the word he said before he died and got crushed by that rock was live. Live, Deku. Live, Izuku. Live for me. And Deku realizes this. And the man brought down his knife and cut off Deku's arm. And Deku yelled in pain, but held it in and splashed his blood on his eyes, ripping the sword from his hand. Him still bloodied and beaten, but his bones are broken and out of shape. His leg literally was just twisted to go, and by getting up, he snapped that shit back into place. And he jumped on his neck and started to hammer down on his neck. He didn't slice it in one go. Remember, this guy is still a fucking kid. And he starts going and going and going, and finally chops off his head, making the fat ass nigga just drop to the floor dead. And Izuku just drop at the same time. This is where the rest of the people come in and just castrate this nigga's arm. Bro, they heal it up, they flame it, which also Deku felt, but yeah. And they just sealed that shit anyways. So Deku just wakes up in his eyes, and his one arm is chained to the wall, and his leg is chained to the wall, which is nothing surprising for him. That's how he's been living for these past few. He doesn't even know how long it has been actually. it actually has been a year since he left. So yeah, that's a good timestamp. Anyways, but he finds someone just sneaking, three people sneaking into his room, and one had blue hair, the other one had purplish blackish hair, and the other one had pink hair. These were Nejire, Jiro, and most of all, Mina. They walked up to him and started to help him and tried to comfort him, because they saw this nigga's arm was gone. And they tell him, oh, you're lucky. They don't send girls to fight. They kind of test on us. And sometimes they... And she just looks over and she doesn't finish the sentence. And, pause. You guys probably know what that, they kind of means. So, do I really need to put in what it actually means, or you can just fill in the blanks? I thought so. Yeah, I knew you could just fill in the blanks. So yeah, that's what they be doing. Okay, don't go into it too much. So they've been doing that, right? And Deku just nods and they're just talking to him. He's just so impassive about it. Like, he doesn't know what to feel at this point. And Deku just goes. And this is Deku. After they leave, and a few weeks after, they've been coming until they got caught and they just got beaten up and thrown back into another cell. And Deku just goes in, and Wolan goes in. He just there, and a small wolf or pup wolf just comes and starts cuddling next to Deku. And Deku, this is his one saving grace. So yeah, you know about to happen to him. Like, let's be honest, Deku can't have anything good in this show. So Deku's just playing with him until the other guard coming and sees him and sees the the very small but really surprising smile on Deku's face. So they never seen him smile since he got here, and they believe that this nigga just never smiled, and it wouldn't be as far fetched, like how his parents reacted, how he reacted to his parents basically selling him. So he comes in and says, "Oh, looks like the emotionless kid actually has some emotion. Let me strip that away again. Or maybe you might cry out in fear, and maybe, just maybe." And this is where a girl comes in and say, "Before you're gonna do what you're gonna do, I'm gonna have my fun." And this is a girl. She has like black hair and is muscle bound as fuck. And Deku knows what's gonna happen to him. Like, he can just memorize his shit in his mind. He knows what's gonna fucking happen to him. And she walks to him, and the other guy closes the door, and you can guess what happens from there. Deku, well, let's say man's not a virgin anymore. And he didn't 100% wanted to, he 100% still wanted to be a virgin, but life had other plans. So, Deku, when she finished, she said, "Go ahead, I don't care." And she left. And Deku is just there. His shirt is gone. His pants are gone. The only thing he has on right now is his boxers. And there is a significant, like wet spot in the middle of his pants. Like, we all know what happened. Like, let's be honest here. We all know what happened there. Anyways, so Deku doesn't care, and the guy grabs this frogs and just kicks the fuck out of this fox. And the fox hit the ground and it just whimpers. But then we go back into Deku's mind. He's fully been enveloped with the darkness. And this black liquid starts kind of turning red. It forms a circle, and the Kamui are the Mangekyo Sharingan of Obito and Kakashi appear in the middle. And at first it was just a Tutomoy until it turned and Deku was in the middle to it. So he was in the middle of the Mangekyo Sharingan. And he opened his eyes in this darkness. And the string, it popped. He looked up for the final time. He said, the final time we're gonna sit here and just let things happen to me. I do not know why I was born into this accursed world, but I don't want to live here anymore. He screeches his teeth and says, I am done. I am finished. And Deku, the nape of Deku's neck turns white. And white, like tendrils, come out of Deku's back and cover his body. And they make a mask, a swirly mask. So he's basically like Guru Zetsu. And it just wraps around him, and his eye turns into the Mangekyo Sharingan. All two of them, actually. You couldn't see the other one, but all two of them turned. And he gained the Mangekyo Sharingan. On his other side of his body, wood spikes just came out of his body. Well, obviously came out of his body. They come on the other side of his body. He started to get some flashes, but he didn't pay attention to them. He ran towards the guard and kicked him. The guard was like, it was a strong kick, but he wasn't really worried. But until he felt them in his body. And 3 spikes of wood came out of his back, instantly killing him. The girl was outside, and he ripped his hand through the metal door, grabbed her neck, and pulled her in there. He extended his hand, and his other eye, the eye that you couldn't see, turned purple, and rings surrounded his pupil. And he pulled a chakra rod and stabbed it into her neck, breaking the rod. And he just walked into the hallway, and people heard the commotion, and they saw Deku in this weird suit, and they started to shoot at him, but he dodged and killed them all. He got down to the stairs, and there were no more children left, which I hinted at before. All the children were killed by that fat pig ass guy. And Deku just killed the niggas. Like, he flipped over one's head, grabbing the man's head, ripping it off and kicking his body to the next person, and then throwing that man's head into his face and sticking a chakra rod through both of their faces. Slapped under a guy's legs, grabbed his hand, broke his hands, then ripped them off, and put the gun into his face and pulled the trigger, dropping the gun and kicking the other nigga in his face. Then he went up on the walls, sticking to the walls, and then grabbed someone's head and shoved them into another guy, then shooting a chakra rod through them. He then saw another fat nigga and just double kicked him right in the chest. And when he did that, 3 wooden spikes came out of his back. Then he saw something flash in his mind, and he said, Shidori. And he basically flew down the stairs. Like, this man hit no steps. And he just plunged in Shidori into a nigga's head. And just, bro. And just threw that body through the wall. And he then went down and then saw a group of people, and he said that he saw another memory. where he shot a flame in his mouth using Kamui, made that flame swirl around. And he did that, and it hit like a few people, but that wasn't it. He then used a fireball to hit everyone else. Then he go down another hall and started to kill more people. This is where he saw the arena with another kid fighting, and the kid eventually died. He shot a chakra rod at the other pig nigga, and it went through his head and he died. People looked to see what it was until they heard lightning. Shidori Senbon. And lightning shards start just coming out of the sky and impaling all the spectators. Deku just hopped down the railings and went into the settling areas and found Nejire, because they were something called the hole, which is basically tension, and you got no food, no sunlight, and they were slowly started to turn insane actually. But Deku busted open the door and said, "Come with them," and they were scared at first until Deku removed the mask and they saw Deku. Deku then opened his eyes and saw, I remember the memory, putting them in the other dimension, the Kamui dimension, keeping them there. Then he went back outside and started to kill more people, starting to rip off heads, break legs, tore off those legs and hit people with that leg, and also killing the other person that originally had the leg. And he started to kill more and more people until the arena he would stand on was basically a sea of blood. The bodies were floating. The blood from the stage and the arena were going down, and Deku was standing on top of that blood, using his chakra now to stand on top of the blood. His face was drenched. Well, not his face, not his actual face. His mask, his red mask, was now drenched in blood. And he opened his eyes and removed the mask. And he looked at it and said, "I'm finished." And he waved hand signs. And no, didn't wave hand signs. Sorry. He went upstairs into the the person that announces the fights and basically that, and he saw a list of people and their bank account numbers, and he guessed these all the people in the arena since it was really long. He flipped through their pages and made in a real account, and drained all the money of the actual state and the arena place, drank their money, and drank all of the people in the arena's money, and transferred it to another another fake which is transferred it into a fake account, which is now going to be his account. And then he brought it in. First he transferred it into Bitcoin so you can take it out later in a shady bank. Like, this is for the criminals, and he found out by looking through the page. So if they wanted to withdraw a huge amount of money, they could do that with some shady people that work in the finance establishments. So yeah, Deku then went onto the computer and started writing basically like, what is called those things, receipts, and started making up a fake currency, making it seem like they spent all their money on this fake currency to participate in this arena battle. It's an illegal arena battle, no less. So that's why their whole accounts were drained to the brim. So Deku just did all of this, he printed it out and cut out all the receipts. Then it went into all of their pockets and just went and placed it in all the dead people's pockets, all the dead spectators. And he then basically put a suicide bomb on a nigga because they had explosions and things in the arena, and he basically made a suicide jacket and placed it, and then set it to explode when he left. He then got outside of the splash, still covered in blood, then using water style and washing it off and coming outside where this were just a desert. This was in the middle of literal nowhere. And he called back Nejire, Mina, and Mina and Jiro, and they looked and they saw blood coming out of the huge building, and Deku said, "Don't look there." And then he pressed the button, and he threw that button at the same time, threw that button right in there, and he used Kamui to teleport it right into the man's hand that had the suicide jacket on, and he pressed the button, and the whole building exploded. And he didn't put like 1, 2, 3, 4 bombs in him. He put huge amount of bombs in this nigga, and it exploded. Even though this was the middle of nowhere, you could hear it and see it. This is where they were just about to get exploded with the explosion, but Deku said Kamui, and they both Jiro, Mina, and Nejire vanished, and they appeared in a forest. And when they saw Deku was face front on the floor, knock the fuck out. And they saw Deku and they were like, whoa, damn. And Deku, just after a while, staking out in the forest, gathering berries and cooking food, because they didn't know how to cook, waited for Deku to wake up. It was in 2 days, and Deku woke up on the 3rd day. And he saw Ashido, Mina, Jiro, and Nejire. If you don't know Mina Ashido, yeah, Ashido, whatever. And they saw them. They saw him, but her name is not gonna be Ashido for suit, because like her parents. If you didn't get it, the same thing that happened to Deku happened to their parents, but not as much as Deku's thing. They didn't get abused. Their parents were just rough spots, and they just sold the child. Like, they had no other choice. They were either gonna starve. So yeah, Deku woke up, and they saw he woke up, and they were like, "Hey," and Deku was like, "Hi," still being emotionless until he remembered something. He then said, "Come," and there appeared the dog. It was back to health, but its arm was broken, showing that the dog or wolf didn't die. So he instantly started to heal it. Now, Deku decided to tell them, "Come. You will forget and put what happened there in our past, and never speak about it again. Agreed?" And they say, "Yeah, agreed." They got what was coming to them. And Deku nodded and kind of smirked and said, "Yeah, they did. Got what they were coming for." Then they went to the bank, the shady bank. Well, so outside people, it's not shady. It's a fine establishment. But for the criminals, well, yeah. So Deku went there, and he just chilled. Like, he went into the hostess and told her a secret word, which he also saw, which was Akuma Matata. Yes, this came out of the fly. Just don't worry about it. And the person nodded, and and they Deku gave the code to the account, and he gave him like at least a few thousand, and left. Made a make a new account listed on as the Izuku Midoriya, but he told them to call him Yamato Yamato Kakashi. I mean Yamato Hatake. Yeah, Yamato Hatake. So the side that he told them his real name is Izuku Midoriya, but his see the name that he prefers is Yamato Hatake. And they nod, and they gave him, the person had the stack. He asked for a certain amount of stuff. They gave him new passports for both, for him, Mina, Jiro, and Nejire. And Nejire was older than him, yeah. She was older than him still. Anyways, for Nejire, and she gave one to Deku, gave him passports, changing their, not changing their age, like forging a lot of stuff for them, documents, medical documents, forging a lot of stuff. But now, it was not Mina Ashido, it was Mina Midoriya, then it was Jiro Midoriya, and then there was Nejire Midoriya. So, yeah. So they took the passports, and they blushed when seeing the last name and asked, well, no, they didn't blush yet, sorry. They asked Deku, what was this last name? And Deku says, the last name is my old family name. It's the only name I have, so I'm gonna use it. Although I'm using Hatake, that's not my real name, and we're kinda gonna be a family now. And they blush and look away, and Deku just doesn't know what's going on, so he just goes. So they tell them the first idea is to get a house. I don't want to be too conspicuous, so we're not gonna get a big house, but it's gonna be good. And he just puts up the release sign, and he turns into someone else. A slightly older man with brown hair and brown eyes. He looks pretty casual. It's nothing, no one important. And he goes into a real estate home and starts talking with them and saying, I want a new house, blah blah blah. And they doubt him about his money. He says, I recently got inheritance by my grandfather. He died, so I got his inheritance. And they believed him. Like, the fuck? Stupid bitch. Like, it makes sense. Like, I don't want to know why people, when they steal, they don't make that excuse, bro. The inheritance goes hard, bro. Like, thieving 101. Although I'm not a thief, but, like, it's common sense. When you watch Amada's, like, sci-fi movies that I do, bro, you learn that shit. And anime, too. Like, bro, people be coming in clutch with this inheritance, bro. You need to get a new thought process. Anyways, so Deku, so they publish the establishment, and they get the paperwork done, and Deku signs it under his real name, actually. So yeah, but they do tell him that he prefers the Yamato Hatake thing, so they understand. They say like blah 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 blah, diddy daddy, blah blah blah, and Deku gets a new house, and this will be the house. Some of you guys, it might look familiar, but some of you guys might not look familiar. Blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter. But this is Deku's new house, and he carries Mina, Jiro, and Nejire there, and they get settled in. They bathe, but realize they don't have any clothes, and Deku says he doesn't have any clothes either. So they decide to put on the old clothes, and Deku decides to go into a mall and get some new clothes for them, and get some. It was a fully furnished house already. They didn't need to buy any furniture, but yeah. Now we're gonna time skip, and he, with Deku looking at the ocean, sitting down there, with Nejire, Ashido, and Jiro. They looking at the sun. Jiro in the middle of Deku's legs. Nejire having her head slotted on Deku's shoulder. Mina on his other shoulder. Deku just sighs and says, "You guys are bothered, you know that?" And Ashido has a UA. Nejire has a UA uniform on, and Deku has casual clothes, and Mina has on a high school outfit, and so does Jiro. And Deku says, and they ask, "How's homeschool been doing for you? Heard that you're top of your class today. Everything, although not being really at school." Deku says, "It's not much of a bother, isn't it?" So yeah. Well, that's gonna be the end of the video, guys. Like, bro, it's been a long road. Like, ugh. It's been a quick minute. Like, let's be honest here. It's been a quick minute, quick second. So this is the end of the video, guys. Bro, this took a long time. Like, I never expected it to be take so long, but that's not the vibe, bro. It's not that bad. Like, I've been on this shit from day one, so I knew what it was getting into. So I had to sacrifice my birthday for you guys. So like, you better, like, bro, you better get this on high views. Like, I put this on God, and I was like, wait, shouldn't you be doing like more thing, blah blah blah, bro, more episodes are gonna come out when I get time, bro. Like, okay, so that'll be the end of the video, guys. See ya.